me, don't hurt me. Oh yeah. Da, 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 dee, 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 da, da. I get a large charge out of doing shit like that. Hi, how are you? I'm Susan, Susie, Mojo, whatever you call me. How are you? I'm here to talk about God. I got to talk about God now. This I was just inspired to do this today, and I was inspired by a TikTok video. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on Facebook because Facebook doesn't own TikTok yet. But that's where I saw this. There was a woman who was putting, she pretended she was filling out a form or something to say what her religious affiliation is. And she went through a bunch of her beliefs before settling on spiritual, spiritual, but not religious. This is something we've begun to hear. We have begun to hear in the last decade or so. Spiritual but not religious. It's really become a strong theme. And there are also lots and lots of atheists around this country in this part of the world. I know that. And also in the Western world, I think, especially, it seems like Europeans and Australians particularly have a different way of looking at religion from Americans. It seems like, especially Christianity, and that's what I know about. So I'll speak to that. But I think that Americans who are religious in Christianity, are a lot more like serious and sort of pointed about it, whereas Europeans seem to be a lot more circumspect. And so, which is a word that means seeing all the way around. I love the word circumspect. It's a good one. So let's just talk about that. This is something that the lady on TikTok who was saying, what her beliefs were, most of her beliefs were very similar to mine, but not completely. And so I want to talk a little bit about what is God. And you notice I don't use any human pronouns like what is he or what is she. Sometimes I will say goddess instead of God because I like that. I'm a feminist, whatever. We all should be, but we're not all. So let's talk about God. When I was about 18, I remember having a conversation with my mom, and I've always been, I was raised in the church, and I left the church and I went back to the church and I stayed for a while and then I left again. And then I went back. Nowadays, I generally love to go to a Christmas Eve service that's a real traditional carol and candle lighting like we had when I was a kid. It's mostly music and it's all about love and it's joyful and it's beautiful and celebrational and all of that. So I really dig that because love is good, right? Love is good. We can all agree. I think we can all agree that love is good. All right, so that's simple. And a lot of people say, and religion, at least Christianity, teaches that God is love. And so if God is love and love is God, that's great. That's a very simple way to believe and to feel. And I can appreciate that very much. And to a great extent, I do feel that way, but I feel like there's a little bit more. So let me get back to when I was 18 and what I told my mom. I have always had ideas that I don't know where they come from, right? Ideas and philosophies and so forth. Now, I'm very philosophical by nature and interested in, to tell you the truth, I'm a fan of what works. I am a fan of what works. Capital W, what works always, whether that is for depression or an injury or for your heart or for your soul or for whatever it is. I'm a fan of what works. So if you look at things like you're a fan of what works, then you can apply that to everything. Now, one thing, okay, we're going to get to the discussion that I told my mom. Okay, I was about 18 years old, and this image, I guess, had been in my mind, and I don't really know where I got it. It's not what's taught in church. And so what I got was that I envisioned God, or heaven, or something, the divine, as being, let's say it's a cloud. Now it's there's another dimension, or many dimensions, that we can't really fully comprehend from our dimension, right? We live in 3 dimensions, and this dimension seems to be elsewhere, but it is a part of us as well. And just because you can't see or touch something doesn't mean it's not real, right? Love is real, right? So that's real. Okay, so we can believe in love. Let's keep going from there. So I'm imagining a cloud, okay, a cloud somewhere in outer space, a very large cloud. And this cloud is divine energy. Now, remember, it's not a literal cloud as we understand it. All right. But let's just imagine a cloud, just for the halibut. Let's imagine a cloud. And once in a while, a finger comes off of the cloud and goes down to earth and goes into a body, a human body. And that human body, okay, so here you are. And the human body carries that little piece of the cloud everywhere it goes. Okay, so the cloud is in here, a little piece of the cloud. And when the human body dies, a little piece of the cloud, still connected, goes back up into the cloud. Okay, and so as you can imagine, with humanity being as it is, the cloud, the pieces of clouds, the fingers, are constantly coming and going, right? Constantly, just billions of them all the time. Well, okay, not every day. All right, but you know what I'm saying. So billions of these just go down, and then they go back to the cloud. And that cloud is what I call the divine collective. All of us are a part of it, and part of it is in each of us, right? So that's what we usually call our soul, this piece of the divine collective, this finger that comes into the body, and we carry it around, right? So that is our soul. That's what we call our soul. Well, I call it Chunky Divine. I call mine Chunky Divine, which is also my stripper name, because it's a chunk of the divine. And I thought one day I said it and I went, Chunky Divine, that is a great name. I'm just going to, my soul is Chunky Divine. That is fantastic. So you can call yours whatever you want. You can call it by your own name, because it is you, and yet it is not you. It's always there as long as your body is alive, and it's not in your body anymore when your body is not alive. But it returns to the divine collective. And so this was something that I discussed when I was 18. Don't know where I got the ideas. My mom was kind of like, Now, does that fit with what I learned in church? Kind of. Not completely. And it certainly doesn't fit with the idea of God. It doesn't fit with the idea of God that is taught in church, because what we learn in Christianity is that God is a being, an entity, singular, well, in 3 persons. Yeah, nobody gets the Holy Trinity, so we're not even going to talk about that right now. Except I will say this: truth, with capital T, always makes sense. It's always logical. So if you're ever sitting in church or other religious or class, and you think that doesn't make sense, I can't understand that, then maybe it isn't truth with a capital T. But that's just, that's food for thought. Okay. All right. So God is not, the way that I see it, God is not an entity. It is many, many connected entities that I call the divine collective. So it's not a being that is like controlling you, judging you, loving you, telling you what to do, hoping that you will come and give it worship and praise. Lord have mercy. Um, Jesus never asked for worship. He never asked for worship. He never asked to be deified. He did not ask to be martyred. He did not say, come and worship me. He said, go now and love one another as I have loved you. Right? So this idea of worship and praise and begging for forgiveness, those are all very human concepts. The idea of hell is also a human construct. Yes, it's been in every single religion since the dawn of man. That is true. Well, maybe not since the dawn of man, since the dawn of religion. And it is the idea of hell or eternal punishment or something that's outside of this life that you cannot see, like the cloud that I'm discussing. That hell, the concept of hell is to make you be good. So is the concept of karma. I have heard, but I don't know if this is true, and maybe one of my theologian friends can clarify this. I heard that in the councils at Nicaea, when Constantine was trying to unite his empire and decided to have a state religion, he had the councils decide, is Jesus human? Is Jesus God? Is Jesus human or divine? Well, that's where we get this in the papal blessing, the dual nature of Christ. He is both human and divine. And then this is the Holy Trinity, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, right? So that's your little papal wave, right? Okay, that's your blessing. There you go. So that is how all of that kind of came to be. Anyway, at the councils of Nicaea, what I heard is that, and I don't know if this is true, that references to reincarnation were stricken from the scriptures, because if people thought they had another chance to get into heaven, then why be good in this life? Okay, I don't know if that's true or not. Okay, let's keep going with God and the divine collective. So, does this make sense? Because you can't see it. It may not. And if you are going to be strictly about the physical, then I probably can't help you. But if you feel that there is more to you than your body, if you feel chunky divine, if you feel a connection to the non-physical, then this may be something that helps you and makes sense to you. So if you think about this in terms of heaven, and I talk to people in heaven all the time, that's what I do. If you think about this concept with the divine collective and the fingers coming and going, right? Then are the separate chunky divines separate or unified, part of the collective? And that's why I use the word collective, because I feel like it is a union of many, many, many separate chunky divines. So it's this giant chunky divine that has all the little chunky divines inside of it. I hope that makes sense. So let's look at some of the other beliefs that are fine, but may or may not make sense. So, okay. Oh, is the divine collective a creator? Yes and no. It's not a creator in terms of it made the earth in 6 days and rested on the seventh. It is a creator in terms of its finger that's inside, its chunky divine, that's inside of you, allows you to create, allows us to create collectively, and allows us to create individually. And because we're all connected, the thread, the finger that goes from the soul into the big soul, the giant soul in the sky, because that we're all connected through that. Ew, I just got an image of a jellyfish. I don't like jellyfish, but yeah, it's kind of like that. I like something different from tentacles. Ugh. Okay, sorry. because we're all connected through the divine collective and through the chunky divines that each of us, that is inhabited by each of us, that inhabits each of us, there we go, then we are all connected as well. And that means that we can use our each other, not use, but work with each other to create. And we can also work with the divine collective to create. So when, you may have heard of a celestial advisory board or something like that, where you personally choose people who have passed away to be on your celestial advisory board, and you call on them, and maybe it's your grandmother, and maybe it's Albert Einstein, and maybe it's, I don't know, Alexander the Great, and you call on these entities who are also part of the divine collective, and you say, hey, celestial advisory board, I don't know what to do about problem XYZ, and so if you could get to work on that and help me out in the morning with an answer, that'd be great. So you can do that. And when you do that, are you calling on your subconscious? Absolutely. Yeah. But that's all the same thing. It's all the same stuff. Like my dad said, he liked to say, he would talk to God, and he didn't quite share exactly the way I do, but he had his divine collective in the guise of God. Okay. So the guise of God. Oh my God, I got to write that down. Hold on. The guise of God. Okay. The guise of God were watching us, right? All right. So the guise of God. So he had that concept, and he would talk to that. It was comfortable for him and made sense to him to talk to this entity. And he said, he was talking to God once, and God was giving him answers, and he said, how do I know this is really you and not just some deep part of my subconscious? And God said, what difference does it make? And that's really important, because there are people who will tell you that you cannot have certain insight or information or understanding unless you are told so by a representative directly of God. And that means, the Bible, or the priest, or the pastor, or, a theologian, a teacher, something like that. And they don't want you as an individual to choose what makes sense to you and what feels right to you. I always say that religion is about thinking and spirituality is about feeling. Religion is about believing. Spirituality is about knowing. Years ago, I knew a woman who told me that it was at a time when a lot of people in what had been called New Age were starting to talk about the secret and the universe, calling God the universe and stuff like that. She did not like this. There's a woman on TikTok whom I just love, and she says, he did not like this. So she did not like people calling God the universe. And she came up and told me, and I must have used the word universe in her presence. And she came up and said, you know what? God does not like to be called the universe. His name is God. I mean, he does not want you to call him something else. Like my dad's name is Larry. If you call him Bob, he doesn't want you to call him Bob. His name is Larry. And God's the same way. And I was just like, oh, honey, listen to your little self. God is not a human being. And besides, what about all the religions and the other languages in the world that call God something else? Like Yeshua and Emmanuel, everything that's just like escaping me, of course, Allah, and the divine. The divine's good. How about the Lord? That's even in English. How about Dios or Dieu or Danya? Is that the word in Russian? So it doesn't matter what you call it. And considering that God is not, like I said, not a person, he's not human, it is not human, does not crave our gratitude, praise, worship does not require our requests and supplication for forgiveness. It simply is. It simply is. The divine collective, the creative force, simply is. It doesn't need anything from you. Now, people like to talk about gratitude, and I like gratitude as well, but I will give you one final tip about this. And yes, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And I will try to be kind about your own perspective, because I realize that everybody needs to come to their own conclusion about it and their own philosophy and their own recognition of what works for them. Remember, I'm a fan of what works, right? Okay, so one other story that I was going to tell you that's now gone because I stopped and said some other things. Give me one sec. I remember now. Now I remember. Well, I guess it's going to have to wait. Maybe I wasn't supposed to tell you. What are you supposed to tell? What are you supposed to know? We don't know. We don't know everything. This is based on my knowledge, understanding, my Christian background, and my feelings of knowing, and from everything I've experienced in the woo-woo world and understanding how things work. Gratitude. Yes, that's what it was. So gratitude is wonderful. Gratitude is what you need to know about gratitude is that thanks are for the thanker. I'll say that again. Thanks are for the thanker. Since God or the divine collective or the universe or Larry does not need your thanks, why say thank you? Why be grateful? And I'm not talking about thanking someone for helping you or thanking someone for giving you a gift. I'm talking about thanking God, universe, higher self for an experience or a message or money or people or whatever. Thanks are for the thanker. The reason that gratitude is so good for you is that when you say, thank you, I am so grateful to have this, you are saying, I feel worthy of this. Now, this is something that they don't teach you in church. Oh God, we are not worthy. We are not worthy of your grace. That is bullshit. You are totally worthy. That'll be my next lecture. How about? So when you say thank you, you're saying, I am worthy of having this. I recognize that I've got this and I feel so grateful. I feel so good to have it. I feel so good in having this. I must be worthy of it. I am worthy, and thank you, I'm worthy. So the thanks are for the thanker. Remember that. Do practice gratitude. Do have a gratitude attitude. But remember what it's for. It's for you. It's for you. God doesn't need it. God doesn't require it. And yes, I continue to use the word God, even though that's not what I believe, because it is easy. But I really prefer the divine collective or Larry. That's all, folks. What is love? Baby, don't hurt